Hi everyone, Prakash here on behalf of the team here organizing Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya mission on national mission on teaching, training the teachers. And we have distinguished guest here, uh, Mr. Saif Mohammad, General Manager of Telecom Sector Council, and Vipin and Professor Gokhale. So here is a team of four trying to make sure that this final session on the day 7 is completed. And so with that, I will just talk about SAFE's accomplishments. SAFE has been in the ICT industry for over 2 decades. While Masters in Marketing Management and postgraduate diploma in marketing from AIMS Delhi, has worked with he's worked with Nokia, Microsoft, and Cornerstone Research in digital marketing and business development. He likes to take challenges, and that is why here we have him, and brings the best of the chaos. He thrives best in chaos, put it this way, and organizes successfully, and he has done different initiatives. So his current target is to build telecom workforce for service providers to launch 5G and non-terrestrial communications, which is obviously we have satellite, geo, leo, MEO, etc. And so he's framing plus also drones and logistics, all that. So here is our chaos manager, I will call him, who thrives on it. Uh, Saif Mohammad, welcome. Go ahead, take it. All is
Thank
yours now.
you. Thanks a lot, Prakashji, and other distinguished speakers over here. I thank you from my heart to call me over here and to speak over as what we do as Telecom Sector Skill Council and how we are adding value to the entire ecosystem as far as telecommunication or ICT, that is information communication or technology, or some call it TMT, technology, media and telecommunications, how we add value over here. Because while we speak about different capabilities of different companies and different vendors as how they are enabling the technology, what is happening in 5G, what is happening around IoT, what is happening around 6G, what is happening around low orbit satellites or SATCOM. However, one very important aspect and central aspect to entire technology, be it anywhere, is the workforce, skilled workforce. Though it's not a very good example to quote, but yesterday I was hearing over this Russia and Ukraine crisis that, NATO allies are providing all the weaponaries to Ukraine. But then what is the use of that weaponry if people are not trained to use it, So same as with, any technology. If you don't have the skilled manpower, there is no point of how to optimize it or how to drive or how to be a power user out of it. So at Telecom Sector Skill Council, our core focus is to develop skilled manpower. And in order to develop skilled manpower, there are many other parameters which work in tandem. One is being, audience over here, I understand they are distinguished professors and teachers and trainers. So this is one of the most important parameter in the skilling and education ecosystem. If we have good teachers and trainers and educators, only then we'll be able to have a good skilled manpower who knows how to use the weaponry or the system or the technology that we have in place. So our core focus is why Telecom Sector Skill Council, focuses on developing curriculums and, doing many other things, which shortly I'll take you over the little slide deck, 3-4 slides that I've prepared, what we do. But other than that, these are the central themes. I mean, capability development is one of the central themes that we try to focus upon, at Telecom Sector Skill Council, because we believe the quality of trainers is going to determine the quality of output. So while I come back to that, let me just beam up the presentation, a little deck, so that you get a backdrop of where we come from, what we do, and how we are adding value to the ecosystem. Prakashi, if you could just confirm if you are able to see my slide.
Yes, sir, we can.
Yes, we can see that. No problem.
Okay. So it's in very brief, as I said, what is Telecommunication Sector Skill Council? Basically, as we call ourselves TSSC, we are an apex body which have been conceived by National Skill Development Corporation, which comes under Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. So they have, made 36 different sector skill council in India, each looking into one particular sector. For example, there is Retail Sector Skill Council, there is Logistics Sector Skill Council. Similarly, there is Telecommunication or Telecom Sector Skill Council. So what we do is we are not-for-profit organization, and we have been formed by NSDC when they shook hand with the industry associations. So, what our genesis is, basically, we report to Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. That is our line ministry, apex line ministry, and our line department is Department of Telecommunication. So while we do report to MSDE, which is Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, but our line ministry is MIT and Department of Telecommunication. So, some of our founding members are, Cellular Operator Association of India, which is very known body, and similarly ICEA, Indian Cellular and Electronics Association, and of course NSDC, as I mentioned. Our key members over here, who are even on our governing board, they are likes of Bharti, Vodafone, Jio, Nokia, Ericsson, Microsoft, Cisco, Apple. So this is how we have formed, and this is our genesis. Going back to previous slide, so far on our 46 different courses, which we call qualification packs, which we've developed, we have trained 10 lakh plus manpower through 1,000 training centers across India. So these training centers are third-party centers, basically. They have their own trainers whom they have trained on particular courses. These training partners, they mobilize students, they do the induction trainings, and then the final trainings, formative assessments. And then when students are ready, they have undergone the rigorous process of training. We have different third-party assessment agencies,
Can you move the slides? I don't see we are seeing the moving of the slides. Are you speaking to only one slide?
Yeah, I'm just speaking to this one slide where you can see 10 lakh manpower. I was just trying to explain the slide. So is this slide visible or?
No, we are only seeing first slide.
Okay, so just let me stop this presentation and restart it, because there might be some problem.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. Just give me a minute, please.
Take your time. Because the figures have to register in your mind if you don't see the slide.
Yeah. So I closed all my presentations because there was some. Okay, can you see now?
Yes, we can see. Good. Super. Thank you.
Okay, so these were the figures I was talking about. I was talking about 10 lakh manpower that we have trained so far on telecommunication courses, around 46, around 46 different job roles, and through 1,000 plus training partners. Then we've got, assessment agencies who neutrally assess these students who undergone the training. They give us the results. Once we are confident enough, if candidate has scored 70% and above in his, assessment, then we issue a certificate of success to that participant. And, these students are actually then absorbed in the industry. So far, while everybody over here would know that there are, couple of big companies, 40 plus companies, telecommunication. But at TSSC, we believe if you look at the entire value chain, if you look at the manufacturers, accessory manufacturers, fiber manufacturers, so on and so forth, there are 3,000 plus companies in India where this type of manpower or skilled manpower is required. Prakashi, can you confirm if you are able to see moving my slides moving now?
We can see, sir, this 10 lakh student trained manpower one slide, TSSC brief.
So I think I need to come out of my, PowerPoint mode, if I'm not mistaken, because that would then allow me.
Yeah, instead of running it, you run PowerPoint in a single slide at a time.
Yeah.
Instead of that rolling mode, because otherwise it doesn't show. Yeah, go to the next.
Do let me know if you're able to see.
Just a second. So this is, yeah, we have seen now. Now we see the COAI and all that logos and all. Yeah.
Okay. Now so earlier I was talking about the genesis of Telecommunication Sector Skill Council, and these are the line ministries and some of the founding members and industry members that we have who keep on telling us back as what direction do we need to take, or what is the required, what type of manpower or skilled trained manpower is required in the industry. So keep on discussing with them, take their inputs. We've got different type of committees with whom we act on quarterly basis. So coming to exactly, our core competence at Telecom Sector Skill Council is to develop the courses or the curriculum, basically, not the content, but the curriculum, the syllabus here. So we try to identify different type of job requirements in the market now and in the coming time, based on the relevance, the demand, as I mentioned, and the uniqueness of the role. And what we do is then we do an internal study, structure those thoughts under different categories and buckets, and then we come out with the course. Once that type of course is developed inside, then we have something called Occupational Core Committee, which consists of apex bodies like AICTE, NCVT, that is National Council for Vocational Education and Training, NSDC, other people from academia, industry associations, and the companies themselves. So that is the composition of these type of committees. These are the subject matter experts in their own areas. So what we do is we bounce off these courses that we develop inside after doing the secondary research, as what is their input and feedback and what would be the demand, just to reconcile the everything. So once they confirm and they give their feedback, we incorporate that, and then we give it for development to one of our vendors or many of our vendors who work for us. They develop that in a particular format, which is required by National Council of Vocational Education and Training, because any course which is developed these days has to be approved by NCVET, in at least in the Sector Skill Council ecosystem or vocational education training ecosystem. So that is the governing body, of the vocational training. And whatever we develop, we need to take it out to them and get it qualified and approved. Only then that course can be propagated or disseminated across different institutes. And now a latest update is that, with the NEP, new NEP, National Education Policy, what government is trying to do is they are trying to create a credit framework for vocational education training. Recently, they, it's not out yet in the papers, but 30 hours of notional learning would be equal to 1 credit going forward. So the courses that we are developing, are in the multiples of 30 hours learning. And since we focus on short-term training courses, which basically, the duration of those courses is between 3 months to somewhere around 5 months, depending upon what level we are talking about. And that also includes theory and practical, both the parts, or even the on-job training, as we call that. So what happens is, once we develop those courses, we take to NCVT, they approve it, and then we are able to cascade that to our training partners. So that is what I try to explain on this slide. And meanwhile, we also take a lot of feedback from DOT, which is our line Department of Telecommunication, because they are the experts, and they have their technical research policy body, which is called NTI-PRIT. They also keep on interacting with us, and a lot of back and forth happens on the courses. And when it is thrashed out properly, only then we take it to NCVT. So a lot of thinking and research goes behind developing these courses. So I wanted to focus upon 5G and allied technologies in this forum before I come to on the capability development that we are doing, which might be relevant to you. So seeing the readiness of the Indian market, which is not much, as compared to other countries, I would say, in different pockets, little experiments or deployments of 5G are being done. So it is still at very nascent stage, but we see a lot of traction coming in coming time. In next 3 years, it will be mostly 5G. So what to do? I mean, government is also worried in terms of we need to be ready for this type of demand. So as Sector Skill Council, what we suggested back to them was that why not let us develop, courses around that and skill manpower. So when we talk about different courses that we started building up and showing to Department of Telecommunication, we are talking about new courses around 5G RAN, 5G radio frequency, and the infrastructure. These are the 3 different categories that we've divided our courses in. As far as core 5G goes, So some of the courses, I don't know whether you are able to see or not on your screen, but just let me read out. We are working on, developing a course around 5G technician, active network installation. Second course is installation and commissioning of 5G rollout sites. Third is 5G ORAN automation testing engineer. Fourth is system architect, 5G cloud RAN. On RF side, we are trying to do 5G new radio performance test engineer. So these are engineering level courses, and below that, RF planning and optimization engineer, NGN radio planner, and around infrastructure, we are talking about telecom rigger, 5G and legacy networks, and we are talking about infrastructure technician, 5G networks. So these are some of the courses that we are trying to develop, around 9 of them around 5G core. And we'll see as how they goes, how they are absorbed, how they are taken in the market. We are also in the process of, now doing the second round of research where we are trying to identify different type of other courses which might be relevant, to bridge the entire gap which might be there. Around 5G allied technologies, it's a big area, but then whatsoever is much more overlapping in the on the telecommunication side we've tried to address that in one way or the other. So what we've tried to do is we've tried to develop courses around IoT, because these type of courses really attract the students. IoT is the buzzword, and we've seen that students are really interested around that. So while we are talking about IoT courses like devices and AI system integration, last mile active network installer, installation solution planner, executive, IoT system tester, we are also trying to develop some little capsule courses around application side of IoT. We've developed a course around how IT is being used in agriculture, how IT is being used in medicine, telemedicine, smart city, transport. So these are some courses related to IoT that we are working upon. We are also developing some of the courses around around AI, machine learning, big data, because that is the piece which would also be mounted upon 5G. As we see more traction on 5G, we will see much more bigger traction on these things. We'll have exponential growth on big data. So we are trying to develop those courses that as well. We are trying to do something as conventional as data centers also, because we believe that something needs to, some courses you really need to address other than the engineering level. There need to be courses around different lower levels like alarm monitoring executive or fault troubleshooting. So we are trying to address those areas. We are also trying to address cybersecurity part, because that somehow dovetails into the entire 5G and IoT and big data ecosystem. And of course, in the cloud computing, we are talking about that we see a lot of things happening around it. So these are different courses. And when you talk about how we have thought about these courses and how we've aligned to different levels, because we play around a broad spectrum of audience, starting from the school, going up to the B.Tech level or even M.Tech level. Those are the type of courses that we play around. And we are very particular in exactly when we talk about 5G or allied technology job roles, other than the conventional 46 job roles that I talked about later. These are actually mapped back to different type of levels, NSQF levels, National Skill Qualification Framework levels. So we have courses which are mapped to class 8 to 12, 10 to 12, graduate, BE, ITI, polytechnics, and M.Tech, of course. I've just tried to summarize that in some rudiment manner on this slide, just to give an impression that we do have a deep thought and process behind what we are doing. With that, I'll come to this end of this presentation, and my only point over here, the last point which I discussed earlier, is the capability building. While we might do and develop all type of courses at TSSC, but these courses would be lame, I should say, if we do not have good trainers around. Now, typically what has happened, as far as my knowledge and experience goes, skilling ecosystem has been seen as a poorer cousin of education. There is a very thin line between education and skilling. Ideally, education anyhow is on a better footing as compared to skilling. Actually, when you see the output of those courses, what we are trying to do at TSSC is we are trying to bring in more educators and give them a little tweak and request them to become the trainers of these courses also. So what happens is, if there are professors, associate professors, senior lab technicians who are already working in reputed colleges, we request them to take up skilling courses as well, become trainers of, or undergo TOT, which is a little incremental effort from your side. But if you do it, other than this meaning as a little more added income in your pocket, it also means that you're giving back to the society, and you are trying to actually go back and use your knowledge to disseminate or educate these courses. And the output that we expect would be much more better as compared to if, there's a trainer who's just done a course from Polytechnic. He's got 3 years of experience. Now he becomes a trainer. That is what has eventually happened in the training ecosystem. But we want to change the game. We are requesting the teachers, or we are trying to focus on TOTs, training of trainers, over here. In order to do that, we have dedicated courses for training of trainers. I would be happy to share the link on the forum so that whosoever is interested might register for it. We'll go through the list. We'll come back to you and we'll tell as how you can be part of this skilling ecosystem. Other than that, we have started one marquee project called Network of Excellence. What we are trying to do over here under Network of Excellence is what we typically realized that if the training is given to the private entities or the training partners, they tend to go for the courses where least investment is required in terms of lab equipment. What happens is then they take up the courses, on the lower hand side. For example, call center executive, hand soldering type of courses, which doesn't actually add much of value to the student. In order to bridge that gap, what we said is, okay, let us develop centers of excellence around India. We have tied up with, NIT Patna. We have tied up with NIT Raipur. We are in the process of tying up with other different colleges in India. We have recently tied up with Delhi Skill and Entrepreneurship University, DSEU. We are trying to build IoT labs over here. What we are trying to do is, since we've got Industry Connect, we are trying to do that to the industry, seek the CSR fund, use that in building those telecommunication lab, high-end labs, or even from our corpus or from our kitty, we are trying to develop these such kind of labs, which not only provide training to students and give access to students to higher lab equipments, but also become the hubs of TOT kind of model. So these centers are also TOT centers or excellence academies, as we call them. So this is what we are trying to develop from our side. And I would request the forum, the people, the audience over here, that you should join hands, you should collaborate, you should be part of this happening ecosystem. We cannot do it alone. We need to have support from the educators, who are experienced, who should use their skills or the experience in skilling the people. So these centers of excellence, they are a bit different than what you've been seeing so far. You might have seen centers of excellence very high end, where a lot of incubation takes place, a lot of industry project takes place, a lot of high-end talking is done or ideas are implemented over there. Our centers of excellence are inclusive centers of excellence, where while we are trying to propagate the high-end courses like IoT, machine learning, or robotics, but we are also actually trying to give access to the masses so that they can come and join this telecommunication revolution and be part of this, and they can have a healthy employment and profession out of it. So this is what we are trying to do through our centers of excellence. With that, I would love to take any questions that you might have and would be happy to answer them. I hope I was able to do justice and explain without boring you a lot as what exactly we are doing in this ecosystem. Thank you. Over to you, Prakashji.
Thank you very much, sir. It was a pleasure hearing you. First thing is, I must congratulate you for pulling off the TSSC plan to submit something to the higher authorities to get the cooperation from them. And a couple of questions came to my mind while I was listening to you.
Prakash, Could you hold a little bit up, like your mic? It's a little bit low.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry, I lose that. Tend to lose that very often. Okay, so once again, I thank Saif for his excellent presentation and congratulate them for having been able to pull through within a short time the presentation, the roadmap to get the things kicking, things move further on the TSSC 5G front. So coming to the 5G front ahead, you had mentioned something like a RF. You have mentioned about the radio. You mentioned about the infrastructure. A slide where we had three plus five, four plus some 10, 8 to 10 courses. Now, what I was looking at is now you have some courses which require you a level which is practical. That is, just go do it. You have to do verification. So, okay, if cell has to be verified or a UE has to be verified, then go and do open the cell, fix things. So that is more of a on the job duty, straight. There are others where you need to do mental work to figure out what to do, what not to do. So prepare a plan. And the other where you need to do research. So is there any category level of these qualifications you are looking at from the terms of certifications, degrees,
Yes, yes.
etc.?
So I mentioned NSQF level. So that is National Skill Qualification Framework levels. So these levels start from level 2, goes up to the level 9, depending upon what is the experience or education the candidate has done so far. So level 5 onwards is basically B.Tech, where again, if a student who's doing B or B.Tech, and if he also does a short-term training, on these courses, his chances of employability in the telecom industry would increase, or his knowledge base would increase. Even if somebody who's already working as an engineer with 2-3 years of experience or 5 years of experience, they can choose a course according to their level and eligibility and gain knowledge around different aspects of 5G or any other technology. So I hope that answers your question.
Sure, that answers. There is a level, and the other thing is, what about the continuous training for the employees and for the startups and all, because they need to really uh, ramp up their mission to be able to
Correct.
make monetary. Because these days it was 18 months, now it has come to 9 months, it has come to 6 months. So by the time you apply the technology, you're already outdated. So there needs to be some acceleration for the industry players as well as the skill set development to be able to leverage on the changes that occur in the industry.
Certainly. So we are mindful of that. And while we, propagate the courses for the new entrants, there are other courses or programs like RPL, which is recognition for prior learning. If employers whose workforce is already working on, say, legacy networks or equipments, machines, there are courses that can be designed as per the requirement, and Sector Skill Council can help him to design that and customize it. And probably those programs can be done on the premises itself of the employer, and certification can be given to those workers as well. So that is again one of the options that we have for the workforce who's already working and who needs to be upskilled or reskilled.
Thank you. I
Sir,
think
this is Gokhale here from Bombay.
Yes,
I have a small
please.
question, sir. Firstly, let me congratulate. It was a wonderful presentation and very, very broad-based and then insightful. I have one fundamental question. Now, when we are talking about skill development, let's say at an operator level, maybe a 10th standard and 12th standard student is actually getting into this particular domain. They would be operating or working on some equipment which might be vendor specific. So how do we address that particular part, sir?
So, sir, there are two ways to do it. First thing is, if they are already, assuming they are already working as a contractual worker or as a full-time employee, whose chances are less, on one particular equipment, vendor's equipment, then RPL can be done. Again, RPL can be at different levels. It is not only for engineers and plus, it can be for level 3, level 4, level 2, depending upon what is the basic qualification that this guy has who's working at the operator level. So a course can be designed to induct him into the new technology. Now, when we talk about the RPL, it can be either on open systems which are interoperable. It can be on the vendors, proprietary equipment also. So both things are possible. We give that to the company, to the vendor.
Yeah. Sorry, I think, but in the current scenario, most of these systems are vendor specific. Siemens or Ericsson, or even if you talk about Geo, they have their own A, standards, B, type of an equipment, C, technology, and D, even the software, the way they provide the services. All of these are radically different. And I'm not too sure, once again, how much of an openness is really appreciated across all these vendors. So when you come down to the on the field type of a job, right, people who are actually on the field, let's say people who are just setting up a tower, and people who are setting up some equipment onto the tower, pulling some cables, and all the splicing some fibers and stuff like that. For these sort of people, I think, is it not that we should provide some fragmented type of a course, saying that, okay, if you are likely to get employed onto an Ericsson type of a field work, this type of a training should be mandated, something like that, sir? Because the type of a target we are, the type of a target we are addressing is very large. That's the reason I am saying it.
Yes. So when you talk about operator level courses like OFS, which is optical fiber splicer, OFT, optical fiber technician, or tower technician. I mean, tower remains tower. Active components remain active components. I think the tuning, a little bit of here and there is okay. What we try to cover in our courses is, broadly, the student should be acquainted with this ecosystem. He should have the domain knowledge, the basic knowledge, fundamentals should be clear, concepts should be clear, and then during the practical part or the OJT part, on the job training part, they can be taught around, different tweaks that are required on the vendor equipment. So this is what we try to do. We try to address very broad base of the society. Now, if this student wants to grow into one particular domain or area, he is most welcome to do by adopting different courses or even gaining experience first at one particular vendor and then, going for RPL or any other kind of thing.
Sounds good, sir.
Yeah, I would add to that like example in Linux training. Okay, simple. We have Red Hat, we have SUSE, we have Ubuntu, we have Debian. So usually when 2007 the Linux Foundation started, they started first with specifics. They started with saying you want to be Red Hat certified or Ubuntu certified or SUSE. And then later on they found that this is not common. Then they brought it together into a common and then developed the courses which were common. And then we started moving away from multiple to single. So this may happen here also. That's what I believe.
Might happen, and we are pretty much flexible and open to include different type of courses which would be the requirement. See, when you talk about the technology industry and particularly telecommunication, whatever we are discussing now might be obsolete after a year. We are on continuous rollover here. We are continuously. That is why what I try to show on my second slide, the process that we have in place to identify different requirements, demand that are required in the industry, and then how to develop the courses around it and how to take the feedback and reconcile it with the industry experts or subject matter experts.
Excellent. And I think, Vipin, it's your turn. We have done our part. Thank you.
Thanks, Saif. Thank you so much for your presentation. And this is good that finally we have something for telco as well as for training. And for the academicians part, I want to add like we have some things in India as well. For example, whether it's PM Vani, like where you can connect all these Wi-Fi cellular things, and also for the private 5G. Means that's a suggestion. We can add a little bit more vertical in it, and also in the application part that we can add related to 5G. Very important is nowadays is a blockchain that we can add. Some suggestions that means for TSSC that we can collaborate, or we can do something for the, especially for the academicians, right? This is for mostly for means I don't know whether we have a vertical for academics or not. Specifically means we can have a research vertical in the TSSC itself, because skill is also part of this research part, right? And this is what we can like, as you showed 5G with IoT and other verticals. So if we can add more verticals in it, that will be really interesting. And yeah, again, thanks Saif for having this. And any comments from you for the academicians, especially like not for as a students, means they also need to learn new things. For example, in this course, we try to make like data centers, telco and communications transformation, right? Because as you said that in 1 year, everything will change. Nowadays is so fast, and we need to upgrade our knowledge so fast so that we can train students as well in a better way.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So over here, I would like to add one very important thing, and I mentioned that in between while I was speaking, that everything that we are doing is highly dependent upon the academician, their inclusion in the entire ecosystem. They need to contribute. When I say contribute, it means they need to have mindset of contributing and coming into the skilling ecosystem also, other than staying in the education, so-called education ecosystem. They need to actually come into the skilling ecosystem also. And for that, we already have a structured program and partners to help us do that. For example, we work with Tata Strike, or L&T. These are some of our partners through whom we use the platform, and we have modules for TOT over here. For the academicians who want to understand, devote, say, little time and want to become trainers. So that is one thing which we already have, and we keep on doing that. So I would now invite entries, many entries from, and I hope we get a lot of entries from the academicians over here. That is one very important thing I would like to mention. And then when you talk about the integration of academia or academicians in TSSC, I did mention that we have something called Occupational Core Committee. This Occupational Core Committee, which decides and looks into the different courses that TSSC is developing, over here we have representation from different academic institutes. So far, like we were working with NIT Patna, their director is part of our OCC committee, and similarly now Vice Chancellor of DSEU, Ms. Niharika Vora, Dr. Niharika Vora, she would also be part of this OCC. So people are welcome to participate in what we do. They can, if they are really interested, they can also send us their profiles of how, if they feel that this direction fits their mindset also, we would be happy to consider them and fit into our OCCs and different communities that we are building for academicians, in order to, just thrash out as what better can be done in this ecosystem, which would be more impactful.
Thanks. Thank you, Saif. And and very important thing, can we start one more? This is just one more suggestion. Can we start training on standards as well? Because telco is a game of standards, right? And if we can have one, what means parallel whole course or training module only for standards, means maybe with TSSC, maybe with standard bodies, what India is dealing with, whether you are also part of COAI, right?
Yes.
That way, if we can, means this is really important because telco is whole game of standard. That's it, simple game.
So let me also just add on, because we keep on working on multiple dimensions. We are talking with, and in fact, we have invited Ms. Pamela Nath, TSDSI, to be part of our OCC, and we would definitely develop, a course around standards as well. And we are very, quite inclined to do that. In fact, I should say. So, your decision is already taken.
So I will add to it. TV Ramchandran, who spoke from Broadband India Forum, mentioned TSSC in his presentation. He said they are working with you. So any pointer to that? You have anything interesting coming?
So let something come out in concrete format. We are working with multiple people in the ecosystem, and more the merrier, I would say. And academicians are one community which can add a lot of value. We really look forward for all our academician brethren to participate into this. We really look forward to it.
Okay, you have anything to add from L&T side or bid side? Gokhale, are you there? Yeah, looks like it's not there. Yeah, he's in bits and L&T. He might be able to.
Hello. Yes, I'm there.
I asked you whether you are doing anything from L&T or from bits towards TSSC.
So I'm doing at L&T. L&T has got a skill development center, and so I'm associated with that skill development center, and I'm participating in the cloud initiatives out there. I'm a subject matter expert for cloud initiatives.
Super. So have take a look at what Saif does. He will.
Sure. I'm very keen and very much interested. So I just check out how we can also add this up. We do not have a vertical out there. Maybe let me just see some minimal set of.
I think, Mr. Gokhale, I think we have met over one of the conferences, or maybe a call wherein L&T team was present, and we were just trying to see. ITS was also there. Sandhya Chintala was also there, and we were just trying to figure out how we can take things forward. So definitely just touch base with your team, as what's happening. So we can take it forward from there.
Yes, sir, very sure. Even incidentally, my team from Maharashtra won at the national set the cloud thing, the cloud initiative. My team actually was the winner out there.
Oh, okay.
And, I think we are running out of time as well. So thanks, Saif. Thanks for joining us today. And this is like a whole week program. And we had talks on ITSC standards. We had talk on Broadband India Forum, and a lot of other talks like on the 5G parts and data center parts. So, and finally ending with the training part. And this is the idea behind this whole program, that bringing together whole academics, industry, and we have people from Intel and a lot of industry players from academia, and the Section 8 companies doing something standards, and now TSSC as well as a training partner. And this is the idea, and this is our plan to continue this kind of events, so that we can bring something even in the standard stage, even from the training parts, and something new from this collaborations. Thank you.
Sure. Really look forward. Thank you. Thanks for
Thank you, Saif. Thank you. Bye. Bye, Prakash. Bye. Bye, Gokhale.